Rick King. I would like to welcome you to Frederick Douglass High School this morning. I am a part of Black Student Union. I'm in the pre-nursing pathway. I'm on the track team. I'm an ambassador as well, and I'm on student council. I would like to say thank you to Dr. Liggins, Superintendent of Fayette County Public Schools, for joining us this morning, and thank you to Frederick Douglass High School, Black Student Union, and Principal Diaz for organizing this event. Thank you to members of the media for covering this event, but most of all, thank you to our panelists here. Please note, I am giving a general overview of their significance based on my knowledge of them. They can give more details themselves. First, we have Dr. Beverly Benton. She is a retired educator at Oral Roberts University and University of Kentucky. She is a graduate of the historic Douglass High School and the University of Kentucky, and she is also an activist. Next up, we have Ms. Helen K. Swade. She is a retired educator of over 30 years in Cleveland area school system. She is a graduate of the historic Douglass High School, and Ms. Helen K. Swade is most noted for integrating the Fayette County Public School System, a summer school program at Lafayette High School. Next, we have Dr. Alvin Seals, is a retired university professor. He is a strong community advocate and taught for over 40 years at Kentucky State University. He is a graduate of the historic Douglass High School as well. We have Dr. Reverend Louis Newby, a 40-plus year pastor, author, and educator. He is a graduate of historic Douglass High School. He graduated from Central State College and received a doctorate degree from Unity Theological Institute in Dayton, Ohio. Then we have Mrs. Sarah Newby, a graduate from the historic Dunbar High School. After the Brown v. Board of Education ruling, she was attended and graduated from University of Kentucky in 1958. Prior to desegregation, she taught at the historic Douglass High School. Upon integration, Mary Todd Elementary School as well. She received an honorary doctorate degree from Simmons University in Louisville, Kentucky. For our discussion, we have 40 minutes together, and we will ask one question and have one panelist, well, all panelists answer each question. Our first question today is, during segregation, what was your educational experience like? I'll start you, and we'll just pass it on.
Thank you, sir. I didn't get your name, but thank you. My name is Reverend Elliot Newby. I was a son of a sharecropper, and we traveled all over Kentucky. We moved from one place to the other, and we are the only property I own, but we went to where people own the property, and we will do work there, and whatever we got, whatever we did, we gave half the share to the owner. And we thought that was just a wonderful thing to do. But as I grew older, it was not the thing to do, but it's something we would learn to do. And we're just happy to be here today, and I appreciate the principal and you students and everybody who are here for welcoming us here today. God bless you.
My name is Mrs. Sarah C. Newby. I'm just glad to be here and glad to see all of you who are here. Started back, way back, after graduating from UK as one of the first black students to do that, and have gone ahead and worked through a lot of things. Have taught a lot of grades, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. But I think the grade that I maybe got used to more was grade 3. because that was the grade where boys and girls were okay about saying please, thank you, excuse me, I'm glad to see you. You heard them say all of that. But after 3rd grade, I'm not too sure what you would hear. But it was a joy to teach in the Fayette County schools. 40 years I taught and enjoyed it, every bit of it. But then I went home and sat down for a little while and decided, this is not what I want to do. I need to go back to school. So I went back to teach 10 more years. So have, I guess, on the record that I gave 50 years to boys and girls in Fayette County. I see some of my students here, and I'm not too sure whether they would be embarrassed or not. But I do see a young man who was in my 5th grade who became principal of a school here in Fayette County and did an excellent job. So I'd like for him to just stand up or wave at you. Can you believe that? He was a wonderful student, a wonderful student. So I guess that's as much as you want me to say.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad to see my daughter here. And we'll pass the torch over to the next person.
Thank you. My name is Alvin Morris Seals. I have a twin brother, so when I began my education in Lexington, Fayette County, I had a partner. But more importantly, it was in a small Rosenwald school that is presently located in relatively good condition as a school in Cadentown, not too far from here. The neighborhood association in the 2000-2005 period renovated that school, and it's under the jurisdiction of that neighborhood group as well as the Urban County government. But most important, that's where I did 1 through 6. You may visit that school following the procedure that you should with the Recreation Department in Lexington. But furthermore, after I finished that 6th grade experience, I went to the great Douglass High School and finished in 1952. What I did in my education there was I worked hard, was serious. Also, I played basketball on the junior varsity team. I did not make the major team because I was studying. And of course, upon graduating in 52, I went to an HBCU as my father had done so. As such, he was a Clark HBCU graduate of Clark College. And my twin brother and I then were sent with his direction and my mother's to Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas. There we spent 4 years of hard study. While I was there, I was challenged as a student to study at American University in Washington, D.C. So I went there for 6 months, really 6 months. It should have been less. But that's another part of my education at American U. And then I returned to Philander, finished the last semester of my senior year, and then graduated. After that, I went to the University of Kentucky, and there I got my master's. I left there and taught in another HBCU, by the way, Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. That's where that story about the great debaters took place before I got there, by the way. So I didn't get to watch them debate. And I also worked at another HBCU for 2 years, and that was Philander Smith, my alma mater. But one or two other things in my education. I did seek additional studies, particularly at the University of Kentucky, working on my doctorate, and then also I studied at the University of Colorado. And I say that with seriousness because in that study time, I learned something that many of you should know, the real definition of the whole problem of Homo sapien reality, may I put it that way, that we are all, well, that is a definition that allowed me to do this, of explaining the peoples of the earth over the last so many millions of years. We constitute a population made up of peoples of many nations and states, but we differ only in some extent in the genes that we have. And those gene differences make races, quote unquote, but they're not really racist. There are no races. That's my experience at the University of Colorado. We call them that, but that's not true. You need to do some research, young people, in the best material and among the best scholars. Only the scholars will tell you the truth on that. Okay, after that work at the University of Colorado, I went to the great Kentucky State University and taught there, as some of you know, for 40 years. But while there, I was sent to Harvard University in Cambridge,
Massachusetts.
yeah, almost another state, Massachusetts. And that was another experience that I had that was very significant. And of course, the most important experience, and I'll shut up, is working with students in many colleges and also at the University of Kentucky. You may stand because I was a visiting professor at the University of Kentucky off and on for a total of 7 years. Thank you, UK. Stand up and win.
I'm going to start out by saying good morning.
Morning.
My name is Helen Case Wade. I have a history here in Lexington. Maybe some of you know about it, maybe you don't. But when I was a student at Douglass, well, let me start this way. I started my high school career period at Dunbar High School. And I was so proud that I was at Dunbar High School. And I finished the 7th grade. My father, who was a former veteran, bought a home at a street called Lindbergh Drive. This young lady was my neighbor. We were raised up together, right?
Right.
And so, but anyway, I went to Douglass. I had always been, as my father said, I had always been a little radical. And so, during that time, they didn't offer summer school for the African American students in the Fayette County schools. We had 2 school systems here in Lexington. Oh, I forgot. Well, we had 2 school systems here in Lexington. Dunbar was where I went in the 7th grade. Then when my father bought a home, it was on Lindbergh Drive. just across the county line, which meant that I had to leave Dunbar, where I was so proud because a lot of my family had gone to Dunbar. Well, when it was time for me to go to school, my dad woke me up. He said, "It's time for you to get ready to go to school." I said, "Dad, I'm not going up there with those rural kids." He said, "I've got news for you. You're going to be sitting right in the class with all of them." Needless to say, I had to get up late, getting up too, and run trying to get to Douglass before the tardy bell rang. But that was my beginning. Then I stayed at Douglass and graduated from Douglass. But in the process, that's when I made some history. Didn't realize that that's what I was doing, because I decided I wanted to go to summer school. So I went to the principal, her name Mrs. Van Lowe, and I used to go and sit down and talk to her all the time. But I told her, I said, "You know, I want to go to summer school." She said, "Helen, don't you know that if you go to summer school, you'll have to go to Dunbar?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" She said, "No, I'm not kidding you." I said, "I'm going to a Fayette County school. Why can't I go to Lafayette?" She said, "Man, you must be having dreams, because you know you can't go to Lafayette." I said, "Well, you know what? My parents paid both city and county tax, and I don't think it's fair." See, I told you I was kind of radical. And I said, "You know, I don't think it's fair that they will have to pay for me to go to Dunbar summer school." She said, "I'll tell you what, I'll call Dr. Turpin. I'll tell him about your imagination and what you want to do." She called, and I don't know why now, I'm 83 years old, so I remember this. Sometimes I forget a lot of stuff. And she called the superintendent, told him, "I've got a little maverick here who wants to go to Lafayette." So he told her, he said, "You know, I don't know why she can't go, but I'll talk to the Board of Education." So he went before the board, and about 3 weeks later, she called me in her office, and she said, "You got what you wanted." And I said, "What's that?" She said, "You will be going to Lafayette for summer school." I was a wreck after that, because I said, now I've got to do what I wanted to do. It was the best experience, one of the best experiences I had in my educational travels. I don't know what's going on here in Douglass. I've been reading the newspaper and whatnot. But you have a history. You have something here that you as students, black, white, whatever, to make this one of the best schools here in Lexington. Don't forget that. Keep looking forward. And I'm going to quit and tell you, don't look backwards. Keep moving.
All right.
Mr. King, could I get you to repeat the question for me?
Question is, during segregation, what was your educational experience like?
During segregation, what was my educational experience like?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, not necessarily my experience at Douglas.
In total, how was it throughout the whole segregation process?
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. It's interesting that when I was at Douglas High School, oh, by the way, my name is Beverly Benton, Dr. Beverly Benton, and I did graduate from Douglas High School. And when I graduated from Douglas High School, I did not go right into college, and there are several reasons I did not go right into college. Partly, I felt like I could not do the work. I felt like here I am at this segregated school, and knowing that we did not even have all the classes there that they offered at the other schools. I recall having to go to, the name of this business was the Fugazi School of Business. They did not admit blacks in the program, in their program, but they did have a night school for blacks to attend. So while in high school, because I did not get typing, and you know, I could not graduate and be anybody's secretary because we did not even offer typing there. I attended that Fugazi School of Business during their night classes when I was in high school, and I finished the program, so that enabled me when I graduated to get a job typing somewhere, if nothing else. But there were other classes that we did not have, and I felt a little bit inadequate, fearful to go to college. So I did not go to college right after I graduated. That's one of the reasons I did not go to college, but another reason I got married, started having children. So that kept me out of college. But 5 years later, no, more than 5 years, after, really 12 years later, I entered the University of Kentucky as a freshman student. And I was surprised because I did well. I was surprised that I could do well because, again, the school that we went to just did not offer all of the classes that I thought we needed. In fact, there was a class, calculus. I didn't know what calculus was. And what is calculus? You know, so that's an example of classes that we could and should have taken, but we did not. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that I got on the dean's list every semester, and I was surprised because I was really able to do well. So even though our school was segregated, even though we did not have the classes that they had at the white schools, even though we did not have some of the opportunities that they had at the other schools, we excelled. And why? I want to say this because I think it's very important. One of the main reasons I was able to excel when I finally went into college was because of the teachers that we had at Douglas High School. We just had wonderful teachers. They believed in us. They challenged us. We could not get by doing lousy work because they would call us on it. We could not skip classes because if we skipped classes, who was our truant officer, Mr. Who was it?
I can't remember, but he was rough.
Yeah, we had a truant officer that knew where we lived and knew where we hung out. And so we could not even get by with that. I had an older brother, 1 year older than me. We were in the same class. And there was one morning, I just remember this so well. One morning I went to school and the teacher, Mrs. Hall, said, "Beverly, where is Frank?" And I says, "Well, he was still in bed when I left." Because my mom would get up earlier and she went out to work before we went out to school. She would wake us up and tell us to get ready for school. She's leaving now. And so this particular morning, I got up, but Frank did not get up. And so when I said Frank was still at home in bed, Mrs. Vanlow got on that telephone and called Frank and said, "Frank, I want you here in 15 minutes. And if you're not here, we're coming after you." So it just took Frank. I don't know how he did it, but he got there. So this is an example. We walked the line. And the thing about it, they told us that we could excel. They told us that we could do anything we wanted to do. And I think that's why my friend Helen Case knew that she could integrate this school, because it was drilled in her excellence, perseverance, and we had that. They did not think that we were not capable of excelling. So that was an experience that I had when I was in high school, and it followed me, it helped me. When I finally did go to college, it would go over in my mind, this is what Mrs. Vanlow said, this is what Mrs. Hall said, and it instilled something in me that I don't know if I could have done it if I did not have the education that they gave me at that little segregated school on Price Road with the teachers. Most of our teachers had advanced degrees. They were not teachers that were just out of high school and 2 years of college. They were teachers with 4 years of college and postgraduate degrees. And so we had the best teachers, even though we did not have the best material. And I like that, and it helped me tremendously.
How did your education experience change when schools in Lexington were desegregated? I'll repeat. How did your education experience change when schools in Lexington were desegregated?
Reverend Newby probably doesn't want to answer that because he didn't go to it.
Yeah, he did.
I don't understand you.
Go ahead. You don't have to answer the question, though, if you don't want to, if that doesn't apply to you.
Hold the question again.
How did your education experience change when schools in Lexington were desegregated?
Well, that's a pretty tough question. As I mentioned in my open statement, that my parents moved frequently from farm to farm, places to places, and I didn't get a chance to settle down in one particular school and get what I needed and have. But as I grew older, then I started learning more and doing more, and thank God that He allowed me to finish high school, finish my first school in Lexington, Kentucky at the United Seminary, and then go to Dayton, Ohio, and get my doctorate there. I have had an extremely great physical experience, and the Lord has helped me to accomplish those goals. Now, how did it affect my learning, you want to know?
The desegregation.
Desegregation. And I told you before that I grew up on a farm that owned by educated white people. And I did not see any problems because I had a mixed group of people to work with and to play with. Not until I got older and went to Europe, spent a couple of years in Europe, I discovered that I was missing something in Kentucky. So when I came back, I listened to the radio and the television and all the things that were happening to our people in Kentucky and elsewhere, especially in the South. I got very upset about it, and I started writing letters to all the people in the South, the presidents and the governors and things like that, telling how I did not appreciate the type of life I was living. And you know what? All those governors that I wrote to did not write me back. So it affected me that way, but when I really got a good head on what's going on in life is when I went to Europe. I ate first class, I lived first class, I went everywhere first class because I was among people who accepted me. And when I came back home, I want to elaborate on that, and everybody I came in contact with, I will tell them about my experiences. May I say one more thing? Here in Kentucky, in Lexington, every year we have a meeting down to the in town in here. And this must have been about 10,000 people that came there, and this speaker was really whipping people. I put that away. And telling how blacks have been treated. So I came out with 10,000 people, and this one person tapped me on the shoulder. He was a white gentleman. I turned around, he said, "Are you black folks upset about how we treat y'all?" And I said, "No, we're not upset. We just want you to move over and let us drive some." And with that experience, I started writing letters and teaching people about how it's important that we are to live together and get along together. We all are made of God's children. We all have the same blood running through our veins. There's no different. I went to the University of Kentucky in research, and we would open up animals and review their insides. In my research, I had to do this work, and the man in charge at the University of Kentucky, he would write our experiences together. And you know what? He did not include my name in his book. And I did all the research. I did all the research. He did not include my name in the book. But we are doing better. We are getting better. And if we continue, young people, I look at the faces all here. All of you have beautiful faces, and I can see your attention. I've been watching you. If we continue to do this with one another and each other, God has a blessing for all of us. God has a blessing for all of us. Let us continue to work together, live together, and pick up each other and be concerned about each other. God is listening. God knows what we need, and He will give us if provided we will open up to each other. Don't get me started.
Okay.
Okay, keep on going, keep on going.
I did not give you a background of my learning, so I'll just say it this way. I'm from Jessamine County, Nicholasville, Kentucky. I went to school there at Dunbar from grades 1 through 8. Enjoyed it, had good teachers. They did what they were supposed to do, to teach, and they expected us to do what we were supposed to do and learn. And then after going to Jessamine County schools for 8 years, my mother said, you know, I think you need to go somewhere else. I need to find out whether you will do well in Lexington. So I rode a segregated bus from Nicholasville to Lexington and from Lexington to Nicholasville for 4 years and did not miss a day of school. I had perfect attendance. 4 years. And a lot of the times when I had to ride this segregated bus, that was Mr. Phillips' bus. I would be maybe 2 or 3 minutes late getting to the bus station. And he would be driving the bus, and he saw me standing on the corner. But do you know he would not stop for me? I did not get a ride on that bus. But there were people that were working in Lexington, and they knew that I was going to school. They'd let me ride. And so I continued to do exactly what I wanted to do. And then I went on to the University of Kentucky. Guess one of the first ones to enroll there. My mother was always with me when we would go to the schools or go to the university to check to see, are we allowed to go? And of course for high school they said yes, you're allowed to. For the University of Kentucky they said yes. So again, I rode a segregated bus, and by the way, when you talk about segregated buses, we had a seat. The seat next to the back or the back seat. And of course, if the other seats were filled or weren't filled, you would only sit where you were supposed to. So there were times when the bus was full, and I'd have to stand and hold my books, either going to Lexington or coming from Lexington. But that was okay. I didn't think that was a job that I just couldn't do. Again, 4 years, I attended the University of Kentucky and didn't miss a day. Never missed a day. And then, of course, I went on to graduate school and received my master's in 1965 and attended other schools, Eastern Kentucky University, Kentucky State University, Georgetown College, a lot. And I also got a chance to go overseas to England. So I had a chance to do that, and I carried my husband right along with me. And I said, if I can't go, you can't go. If I go, you go. So we did go to London, England, and while we were in London, we decided to go other places. We went to Paris, France, and of course, is that the place? And then of course, we did go to Canada when we came back from England. So, the journey has been good. I don't regret any problems that we had. And I just think that if it's to be for you to do well, you will do well. And don't feel like I can't do it. Yes, you can. You can do what you are prepared to do. So it's been a pleasure to be here today, and thank you all so much. The administration and the students and everybody, you've been so kind to us. And thank you so much, and may you have a good rest of the year.
In reference to the question, when the school system in Lexington, Fayette County, desegregated, I had finished high school, so as far as this city was concerned, it was practically over in terms of education. I might run quickly to another point that's somewhat related. In 1975, 76, I ran for the school board for Fayette County Schools, and I won. It was a very controversial 4 years. My effort, along with the liberal side of the board at that time, was to especially have students, black and white, learn much more. But most important, we sponsored teachers and their effort to collectively bargain. Look that up one day. The powerful people in Lexington, Fayette County said no. So we made a contract. The majority of the board, that is 3 plus the 2 who were in disagreement, we made a contract with the teachers, but they took it through the courts, and the conservatives threw it out. That's all I have to say.
You know what? The two of us are from the same family. You're looking at cousins. I went to UK for a year. I was a young girl who did not give my parents too much trouble because I had to answer to both of them. And they always told me, you can go and strive to be what you want to be, but you might run into some headaches. And I've listened to everybody up here talking. I went to UK. When I went to UK, I majored in history and political science. I must admit to you that my year at UK almost destroyed me. I was a history major, and I believe that every professor I came across felt that I couldn't do anything right. I was a kid who said, when Mother and Daddy told me to do what I had to do, I did it because I didn't want to hear from both of them. But I finally got enough guts. I have a daughter who told me I must have been good shoes. I can't remember what she used to tell me.
Goody two shoes.
But I wasn't about ready for Mother and Daddy to be upset with me. But at that point, I got enough nerve to say to Mother and Daddy, if I have to go back to UK, I will never cross the threshold of a college door. Surprisingly, Daddy said, Helen, where do you, I keep forgetting, but Dad said, Helen, where do you want to go? I said, Dad, if you'll let me go to Kentucky State, I guarantee you I'll give you a degree. I was in a psychology class at UK. There were 250 students. They had big classes there, right? I would go into those classes and I would sit right in the middle. And I was in the class, in a psychology class. And do you want to know what that professor said when he walked in and saw this one face in that class? He said, I've never taught Negroes before. All they've ever done is waited on me. That's what I faced at UK. That's what I faced at UK. I keep forgetting. Please forgive me.
You forgive me.
But that's what gave me the fortitude to be able to tell my mother and father, who I never really tried to cross. I said, if you make me go back, I'll never cross the threshold of a college. My father said, where do you want to go? I said, if you let me go to Kentucky State, I guarantee you, I'll give you what you want. He said, it's up to you. You go there, if you do your best, you can count on Mother and Daddy behind you. So, and do you know what's happened to me in the last few years? UK, along with Lafayette, has come up with a scholarship for students of color who want to go into education. And that scholarship is in my name. So I say to all of you, stand up for what you believe, but treat your fellow man as you want to be treated. That's all I ask of you.
Okay, school integration did not affect me too much because I was ready to graduate from high school about that time. So it really, the public schools being integrated did not affect me too much, but it did affect my children. Because I could see the difference in the education that my children got and the education that I got. The difference was in the teachers. At the school that I graduated from, Douglass, all of my teachers cared for me. And they knew that I could learn. But what I found out when I had my children in integrated schools was that, for the most part, many of the teachers did not care. In fact, I had one teacher to tell me that my son was mentally retarded. And I wondered, how on earth could he learn anything if she thinks that he's mentally retarded and cannot learn? So my children were faced with that kind of environment. If they did not get it from home, then they may not have gotten it. I'm not going to put all of the teachers in the same boat because I'm sure that there were teachers who cared, but this is a time when it's a new thing, you know, for the schools to admit little black children So it's new to them, and many of them were not in favor of it. And so it was hard for the teachers to adjust to having children of color in the class. They weren't familiar with our culture,
Right.
and they weren't familiar with the children. And so my children suffered. I had to have reading classes for my children outside of the school classes during summer school because they just weren't learning in the classroom. And when I had them out and during the summer and working with them and reading, they did okay. But it bothered me that my children did not receive the quality education that I received. So in that sense, segregation did affect me. Now, at the University of Kentucky, I did not have any really negative experiences in the classroom. The negative experience that I had at UK was before I even entered the first class, the fall semester. I used the summer to plan for financial assistance. I told you earlier that I had gone to college about 12 years after I graduated from high school. Well, by that time I had 5 children. So I had to plan carefully, and I did plan very carefully. I prayed as much as I planned. So I put both of those together, and it was a struggle. But this is what happened to me that summer when I was doing the planning. I went to the financial aid office and I asked if there were any scholarships or any grants or any money available for a student like me, an adult student with children that wanted to go back to school. And the financial aid officer said, no, we don't have anything, any money available for students in your situation. So I walked out of the office, but I did not let it go at that. I went to the dean of students, and I told the dean of students what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to college. I had a family to support, and I needed to find out what monies are available that would assist me with scholarships. And she said, yes, there's money available. Did you talk with the financial aid officer? And I said, yes, I just left his office. And he said that there was nothing available for students like me. And she says, honey, she literally took my arm and she said, let's go back to the financial aid office. And so she walked with me back to the financial aid office, and she said to the financial aid officer, this young lady needs a scholarship. And he graciously said, well, yeah, I think there is something available. Have a seat. Would you like a cup of coffee? He found money for me for that school year, the first semester and the second semester. So I suppose it was a shock for him too, to see someone, an adult with children, trying to come back to school to get an education. But that was the most negative. That was the only negative experience that I had with UK. I was a good student. I excelled, like I said, much to my surprise. And so my professors were glad or pleased to have me in their class, and the students were okay as well because I knew as much as they did about the subject. So that's my experience with desegregation. And of course, when I went on to Tulane, university, I did not have, for the most part, I did not have a problem there, and did okay.
I want to say one more thing. Our daughter, Teresa Acton, is here. Wanted to recognize her because she was in a class in 2nd grade, and she was just moving all over the place, getting a whole lot of things done first. And so the principal said, Ms. Newby, I think we need to move Teresa. I said, okay, we'll move her to 3rd grade. She was in 2nd grade about 3 months. And then she moved on to 3rd grade, and then from there she just kept going. And I'm so proud, and her dad is so proud of her. And she's taking care of us. We're getting up there in age, but she always makes sure that we know what we're doing. We know when we're supposed to go to places and what time and all the particulars. So just wanted to recognize our Teresa. I want to recognize, too, a student who was in my 5th grade.
You already did that.
No, but I want to do it again. Mr. Virgil Covington is a retired principal. And he was so good in school. He finished everything first, and he did a lot of talking, though, moving around. So I just want you to know him also. Virgil, stand up, sir.
How old are you?
I'm 86 years old.
How old are you, Reverend Newby?
I'm 90.
88.
83.
Why are you asking that question?
In their 80s.
I just want you to see that these people have endured a lot to come here to tell you their stories. They went through segregation where you had to use one restroom and not another.
That's true.
Or you had to go to a water fountain that was just for you, that looked like somebody had urinated in it. They experienced what you read in your history books.
That's right.
That's what they're trying to tell you. It wasn't all rosy.
No.
And they're trying to get, they're trying to get to that, and I don't know if they've gotten to that to you. But they've experienced a lot. I'm just 69, I'm young. I'm young. But these people, and Ms. Newby keeps on recognizing me, and I hope you would do this. I will go to my teachers, and almost all of them are dead now, except for Ms. Newby. And I'll say thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Because you instilled in me what I am today. And if you had not been in my life, I wouldn't have been able to be as successful as I am. So that's why I stood. Thank you.